Good afternoon. It is Wednesday, December 20th, 3:45 p.m. Markets have about 15 minutes to close, people. Yesterday I got my video out late. I had made it early, and then kind of at the last minute, I had to drive my daughter and my sister-in-law into Manhattan. My sister-in-law was taking my daughter to see Anastasia on Broadway. So I drove them in. I figured, all right, I'll take my laptop. I'll drop them off at the theater. I'll hit a Starbucks, and I'll upload my video. So I dropped them off. I go to the nearest Starbucks. Very, very slow, the upload speed. It would have taken like 3 hours. So then I go to a Panera. Same thing. Just wouldn't upload at all. Now I'm in Manhattan around Christmas time with all the tourists. It's just crazy, crazy. So I end up going into Brooklyn, and I have dinner at one of my favorite restaurants with my wife. And while I'm having dinner, I'm using their Wi-Fi to upload the video. So it didn't get uploaded until it must have been around about 8:30, 8:45. And then I have to go back into Manhattan to pick them up after the show. So it was just one of those days. And it's interesting because while I was in Manhattan, I like to buy roasted chestnuts this time of the year, and they're getting harder and harder to find, these chestnut vendors. You can get peanuts and pistachios and pretzels and soda and knishes and everything else. But the roasted chestnuts are getting harder and harder to find. So I found the vendor, and I buy roasted chestnuts, and the bag is smaller, and the price is now $5. And if I remember last year, it was like $4. So that's a 25% increase from one year to the next. And then my sister-in-law, after the show, she says that she's a diabetic. She needed something to drink for her sugar, and she bought Tropicana orange juice, this small little plastic jar, and she paid $6.50. So all this inflation that they're looking under rocks and they're looking over trees, they can't find, it's all around us. And speaking of inflation, that 10-year bond continues to rise. And I want to get into that. But, while I'm driving, too, into Manhattan, my friend, the one who can't stand gold, all right? He bought a gold coin off of me, like 2 years ago. He didn't know what to do with it. He was like nervous. How do I get rid of this thing? I finally had to buy it back from him, right? But a few days ago, he decides he's going to buy Litecoin. And he's doing his best to convince me to buy Litecoin. And I wasn't having it, And he's texting me while I'm driving every like 20 minutes the price of Litecoin. And he's expounding all the merits of Litecoin now, okay? He knows next to nothing about any of this. But he actually texted me that gold isn't going to go to zero. Yeah, it'll stick around, but it's not going to replace cryptocurrencies. I had a laugh. I don't even know how to respond to this. So it's just bizarre what's out there, and he's a typical millennial, people. And it reminds me, I'm in IT, or I was in IT, and back when I started in 1995, right, at the time, we had mainframes, okay? So you had all the power on the mainframe. And the terminals, which is dummy terminals, we called them. It was just like a screenshot of the mainframe. So all the computing power was on the mainframe. And the terminals had no computer power, basically. It was just a dummy terminal to display, right, and print out, all right? And that was how it was back then. That was 1995, all right? And my CEO decided every employee was going to have their own desktop. So we took all the power from the mainframe and we brought it down to the desktop, all right? Total cost of ownership. We wanted to reduce it, right? Every employee's got their own desktop. And that was revolutionary at the time, right? It was a complete 360 or 180, right? And at the same time, being in IT, I bought my first real computer. It was a Dell. Forget what it was, Dell 360, I don't remember. But it had Windows for work groups, Windows 3.11 for work groups, right, or 3.11. And that blew me away. It blew me away, this graphical user interface where you could click a mouse and drag and drop. I had never seen anything like that before. And it was 80 meg hard drive. More space than I could imagine I would ever need, an 80 meg hard drive. And it was like a 1.2 megahertz processor. And it came with, I think, 2 meg of memory, a whole 2 meg. And it had a math coprocessor. And this was $3,500. This was the top of the line back then, this computer. And, you know, being in IT, I wanted to get the top of the line because I know it was going to really put it to work. And then we had this thing called Novell NetWare, right? Which was a Novell NetWare, right? NDS, Novell Distributed, right? It was basically a distributed, replicated, loosely consistent database, okay? And it was awesome, all right? But then what happened? All the power that was on the desktop, right? Now we're going to have a web browser, right? So all those applications that were on the desktop, now you don't need that. Now you just have it in your browser, right? And then they went to the next place where we're going to put it in the cloud. So now let's take all the power off the desktop, all the data off the desktop. Now let's all put it in the cloud. So they went back. So it started out as a mainframe, brought all the power down to the desktop. Now they're going into the cloud. The only thing that you can count on with technology is the fact that it's always changing. It's always going to change. Novell NetWare, right? This distributed, replicated database, right? Well, you know what came along? Windows Active Directory, okay? And now Novell NetWare is just a joke, okay? So this is how it is. And my 80 meg hard drive, right? You buy a hard drive today, how many gig, right? How much memory? So if anybody thinks that Litecoin is going to replace Bitcoin, which it will, okay, but what comes after Litecoin? ThinCoin, Razorcoin, faster, thinner, cheaper, right? That's what technology does, okay? I said this before, back in the dot-com days, people had dial-up, right? You dial, it was wonderful, it was revolutionary, right? Where is it today? Okay, so all these people expounding the benefits of Litecoin, okay, right around the corner is the next thing. The next thing, that's how it is, people. I don't get it. So, anyway, I want to switch gears. I'm looking at this 10-year, right? Yesterday it popped, right? Today it's up again. 2.484 at the time when I put it into this spreadsheet. 2.86 is the 30-year. So I think this is signaling the inflation that they're so desperately looking for. All right? So we got to watch this, people. Because if you look at the chart, now I had said watching the 10-year this year was like watching paint dry. It was going nowhere, right? Just basically up and down in this same range. But look at this copper. Let me show you that too. This is the 10-year, right? Since the rate hike, look how that thing has taken off basically. Just recently, right? And this is a year-to-date chart. If you draw a line from where we are now, the only resistance level goes all the way back right here in like March, 2.52. So we're right at that resistance, basically. If we take out 2.52, it looks like it's clear sailing to 2.6. So we have to watch this very closely, people. And in spite of the fact that rates are starting to raise, gold is not going down. Gold is performing admirably these last, since the rate hike. All right? Which brings me to something else. I don't recommend single stocks. But as you know, I own NUGT. All right? And if you look at NUGT, if you look at the 1 month, right? Right there. Well, here's the year, right? The yearly NUGT, right? It made that high all the way back at the beginning of the year, and it kind of, it had its days, but it kind of went down. And you know I'm losing on NUGT because I didn't take profit. I'm not recommending this stock, by the way. And also, this is not a long-term hold. All right, this is more of a short-term play. All right, I do recommend taking profit. But if you look at the monthly, right, you see what I have there? Look what it's done since December 11th, December 12th, right? Right at that rate hike. Boom. It's gone up. That's the pivot right there. And look what I have circled. High volume pivot. All right? So this thing is looking very good. Now, I don't say it to recommend the stock. But what I do say is, looking at the mining stocks gives you a good indication of what actually the physical gold is going to do. Because quite often, the mining stocks will lead. Okay? And sometimes gold may be down and yet the stocks are up. So you got to pay particular attention to that. So this is the 5-day of NUGT. All right. This is a move, people. This is today. It's up 5% today. All right. So something is happening here, people. Look at copper. Now, just a couple of weeks ago, I was saying how copper was only $3, right? Real assets were not, getting bid up. I didn't mention copper yesterday. It was one of the things in the stack I didn't even get to. It was $3.15 yesterday. Today it's $3.19. All right, I think it might have been $3.20 at one point. But look at what copper has done since the rate hike. It's banging on the yearly high right here. So you got rates are rising. Gold is starting to stretch its legs. Copper is going up, all right? Stocks are still at or near all-time highs, right? And I think it all has to do with the dollar that continues, right, to be pressured. 93.30. Got a 93 handle, right? It's below, it's 100, 200, and 50-day moving averages. So we got to watch the dollar, people, okay, because I think it's going lower. So we also have to see if this tax plan that they passed, all right, if it's going to be buy the rumor, sell the news, all right. So I had said I wanted to get the rate hike behind us in the worst way. The next thing I want to get behind us in the worst way is this calendar year, okay, because it's just, there might be some tax loss selling and some portfolio rebalancing. So I am chomping at the bit now to get to 2018, all right, and see how this all starts to shake out. So I would just say keep an eye on the 10-year. Don't get distracted. Don't look over here with cryptocurrency mania and stock mania, okay? Watch this bond market, all right? And I said it yesterday, and we might be at an inflection point, people. So it's definitely getting interesting. That's it for now, people. Beautiful day out today. I mean, very nice. Just this is the last day of fall. Very nice, clear, crisp weather. If you can get out, take a walk. I went for a walk this morning. It'll do you good. And I want to thank everyone for listening. Thank everyone for their comments. Always interesting. I appreciate it so much. And Lord willing, we pick it up tomorrow. Ciao.